The lights went down, the curtain went up, and 6 women clad in bedazzled black pleather came out on stage. My husband turned to me and said, "Isn't this a show about King Henry VIII's 6 wives?" Six, the Broadway show that was here on tour over the summer, is indeed a show about Henry VIII's 6 wives. But as the show will tell you, and I don't think I'm ruining too much here, it's about so much more. It's about these 6 women who had full lives separate from their husband. Women who were lovers and prayers, they were religious, and poets and writers. Women who lived, but we only get part of their story. As Catherine Parr, the 6th wife, shares at the end of the show, and I realized Rabbi Miller sang rapped last week. I'm not going to do it, just so you know. I'm going to read it. I'm not going to do it. And this is not going to become a habit of us doing this, singing and rapping for you all. But as Catherine Parr says at the end of the show, "That's not my story. There's so much more. Remember that I was a writer. I wrote books and psalms and meditations, fought for female education, so all my women could independently study scripture. I even got a woman to paint my picture. Why can't I tell that story? Because in history, I'm fixed as one of 6, and without him, I disappear. We all disappear." How many stories do we get told only a fragment of because other people who perhaps look like Henry VIII, write the story and not the main character? How often are the stories that we get told from generation to generation to generation are only partially the full story because the people who are living them don't get to tell them? How is it that Catherine Parr can write her own story? How can we write our own story? Books and writing stories is a pretty big theme of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in case you missed it. No less than 3 times, just in the Amidah prayer, just in that prayer when we were standing, did we talk about this book of life, right? In the first prayer, we say, "Zochreinu, God, remember us for this book of life." In a really big prayer that we're going to say tomorrow, Unatan Tokef, that who lives and who dies prayer, we say, on Rosh Hashanah, it is opened, this book of life, and on Yom Kippur, it is sealed. We have a few hours left. And finally, in our blessing of peace, it says, "Please, God, remember us for this book of life, for goodness and prosperity and peace." There is a book of life open right now. Who's writing it? Our theology, or our High Holiday theology, says that God is writing it, as if we have this Jewish Santa Claus up there saying good, bad, good, bad. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. Because what we forget about that theology is that we're created b'tselem Elohim. We're created in the image of God. And so that just doesn't mean that we're holy, which we are, right? God's holy, so we're holy. But it also means that if God is tasked with a responsibility, we better be doing that here on earth, right? So if God is tasked, or we're asking God, as we just did, to clothe the naked and to feed the hungry, we better be doing that here ourselves, right? We gotta mirror whatever God is doing. And so if God is writing our book of life right now, if God is writing our story right now, we better be writing the story. We better be picking up the pen and writing first, because we are the only ones who can. So often, our story is told by other people, by friends or family or colleagues, about who they think we are. But this year, what if we stopped that? What if we picked up our own pen and wrote our own story? Our own story as individuals, for sure, right? So write your story as a good friend and a good family member, a good colleague, right? Write a kinder story if that's what you're working on, a more compassionate story. But more importantly to me this evening is, what does our Jewish story look like this year? What would a proud and triumphant Jewish story look like, sound like, hear like in 5783? I am really psyched about that story, because often it gets told by other people. I grew up in Scarsdale, New York, which is, no joke, 75% Jewish. I was absolutely the majority. I believed that, seriously, that anti-Semitism happened in Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s, and like maybe there were 2 really bad people in Mississippi. Like that's it. That's where I thought anti-Semitism existed. It took me a really, really long time. It took me, honestly, a lot of personal stories, a lot of conversion students, and a lot of college students, and a lot of, the hardest, middle school students, to come to me with their stories of hate and hurt, for me to realize that anti-Semitism is prevalent in our society, and that actually those stories, that story, is being infiltrated into us. That we're holding some of that narrative, and that's preventing us from writing this proud and triumphant Jewish story that I so badly want to write. Dana Bash, a reporter from CNN, she, I think, starred in and produced a docuseries this year on anti-Semitism. And when she produced it, when it came out, she also wrote a companion piece to it that was very personal. She talked about her 10-year-old son, who came to her a few weeks before Hanukkah and said, "Mom, I really want a Jewish star for Hanukkah." She kind of brushed it off, totally brushed it off. She sort of assumed that, he's 10, and he will want trucks tomorrow. And also a little bit of her thought, I don't really know if I want him to wear a Jewish star. And so halfway through Hanukkah, he's opening up his presents, and he looks kind of disappointed. And she turns to him and says, what's going on? Do you not like your gifts? And he said, I do, I'm grateful, but I really did want that Jewish star. She was shocked. And she said, can you just explain it to me? Like, it's not really your thing. Like, can you just explain it a little bit more to me? And he said, sure. When I go to school, there are so many kids who wear a cross around their neck, and it's so cool because you know exactly who they are when you see them. They are saying that they are Christian, and that is awesome. Well, I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish, and so I want to wear a Jewish star so that everybody knows who I am. Everyone knows my identity. That night, they went online and picked out a Jewish star for her son. And as Dana Bash says at the end of her article, it took her multiple interviews with scholars and experts to figure out, her son knew, as she says. It turns out that normalizing the practice of and pride in Judaism is one of the antidotes to prejudice, something that my young son understood innately. Dana Bash was writing the story for her son, right? Someone she really knows, someone she really loves, and she was already writing his Jewish story. A story that probably, knowing this story, includes religious school and includes maybe even celebrating Shabbat and certainly lighting candles for Hanukkah and receiving gifts, and yet it still included this story of maybe not so public, right? Maybe not so proud, maybe not so triumphant. And that makes me sad. And I'm up here saying this. I realize I am literally preaching to you from a high place. But I am really trying not to be preachy here because I have this too. As many of you know, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl 5 months ago, Rebecca. And when I was in labor, labor's not easy, that's why they call it labor. And I was receiving an epidural. God bless women who don't receive an epidural. I do. And that's, honestly, they don't tell you this, that's not comfortable either. That's really scary. And so you sort of have to curve your back, and my husband's in front of me holding my hands. And I don't know what was with the doctor that day, but he couldn't get it. He couldn't get it. And it started taking longer and longer, and I started getting more and more anxious, and then that anxiety started to become really intense anger and sadness and tears and then some yelling. It got pretty heightened. And my husband took my hands and said, Elle, I think we should pray. So we sang Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra li'et nasa behefso kol azay melech shemo nikra. This song that we sing at the end of services, that's sort of like a wrap up your talis and go song, is my go-to song when I am feeling out of control, when I feel like a puppet, when I feel like other things or other people are controlling me. The song has these beautiful imagery of us being in the hand of God, Or this last line that says, Adonai li velo ira, I am God, or God is mine, and I will not be afraid. It calms me. We sang this song again and again on repeat. It was like 10 minutes, guys. It was a lot. And I got calmer. I started to breathe a little bit deeper. I chilled out. I became stronger. Something that happens when you give birth, I think there's a few of us in here who have, is that you share with other moms your birth story. Like suddenly you are on the playground and you just share all about very intimate details about your body. And so I share this story a lot. And I often leave out the part about Adon Olam. I get nervous. I get nervous that people are going to think I'm weird or strange, or God forbid that someone with rabbi in her name is religious. Whoa. I get nervous to share that my religion, that my God, that my prayer gives me strength and calm and peace. That it's what allows me to get up every morning and to do what I need to do and take care of my 2 kids and come to work. Why is that somehow embarrassing? And so I really, really want to push us this year because I am so interested in what our Jewish community would look like 5, 10, 15 years from now if this year we decided to be proudly and triumphantly Jewish. Perhaps Shabbat and prayer are your thing. What would it look like in the year 5783? What would it look like, 5, 10, 15 years from now if in this year you decided that you were going to celebrate Shabbat in a really proud way? You weren't going to brush it off to your colleagues and to your friends and say, I just like the people, or I just like the food, right? But actually, no, Shabbat gives me strength and calm and lets me have a weekend, lets me get strength for the week to come. I saw a meme, actually, right after I had given birth that said, no, I'm just culturally Jewish. So I have all the lactose problems and the anxiety, but no support from God. I know. And if you are sitting there and you're saying, okay, no, but I am culturally Jewish, then great. I'm going to assume that you have done the work and you have realized, not for me, then wonderful. But I am guessing that perhaps some of us are sitting there thinking, yeah, actually, I sort of just say that so that people don't think I'm anything strange or that I'm too Jewish or too religious. And that's what I want us to explore this year, right? To come to Shabbat, God willing, here at Metro Minyan, or wherever else you want to celebrate Shabbat, at a friend's house, at another synagogue, you do you. But do it with pride and tell people you're doing it, right? The thing that can help us write our story is if we actually say it, if we write the story. If Shabbat and prayer are just not your thing, fine. Then when you're doing your social activism this year, do it with a social lens. Why? Because perhaps it is your Jewish upbringing or your Jewish learning that has told you that you need to make the world a better place, and therefore you're going to go out and do it. And so have that Jewish lens to support your social justice work. If that's not your thing, fine. This is maybe the hardest one, which is that what would our Jewish community look like 5, 10, 15 years from now if this year in 5783 we stopped trying to back away from Israel? We stopped being apathetic about Israel. And instead we said, everyone else seems to be identifying me with this holy land, even though I don't live there. So maybe I need to figure out what I think about it. So maybe I'm going to step into APAC or J Street, or if not now, notice I don't care which one, and figure out and learn about what this land means to my people and what this land means to me. What would our Jewish community look like 5, 10, 15 years from now if we decided today was the day that we were going to be proudly, proudly Jewish? This summer, another woman stepped out in front of a crowd clad in bedazzled black. I really hope it wasn't pleather because that would have made her playing even more unbelievable. Serena Williams. Everyone tried to write her story. Everyone tried to say she wasn't good enough. Everyone tried to say she was a cheater. Everyone tried to write her story as not aggressive or too aggressive. And she said, I'm going to write my own story. And she became the greatest of all time because she wrote her own story in her own way. She wrote it in bedazzled black. The Torah calls the Jewish people, the Israelites, Am Segula, a treasured people. What would it look like if we started to own up to that identity? What would it look like if we started to wear that treasure around our necks, literally or figuratively, and started standing proud to be Jewish? how can we write a story today that allows it for 5, 10, 15 years from now for our Jewish community to step out on stage clad in bedazzled black? That's a story I really, really want to write, and I want to write it with each of you. Shana Tova.